Yeah, I think it's important to emphasize that point. The name I was trying to recollect, of course, was Thomas Jefferson, who was the American president and who was supposed to be part of this Enlightenment thinking that had supposedly, started in France with the French Revolution. But of course, even though he embraced this liberty, equality, and fraternity as an idea, he never practiced it. He only practiced it in some sense for white people, as you have mentioned. And he fought against the Haitian Revolution and didn't recognize it. And yet still, America, of course, was a beneficiary because after the Haitians defeated Napoleon's army, he no longer had an empire in the Indies, shall we say, and therefore, his part of the empire in America was of no use to him, and his army, in some sense, was decimated. So America benefited by the Louisiana Purchase. You can also go into that because that extended the overall area of the United States of America by another 33% at least. I'm not sure of that figure because it may be in excess of 33 and a third percent, but it certainly extended the size of the U.S. and the U.S. should therefore think of Haiti as a beneficiary. But it's important to know that in the Constitution of Haiti, slavery was forbidden, and that was the only constitution really at that time that did have that clause and that context. So anybody who came to the shores of Haiti would be a free person. Nobody could be enslaved or nobody could be enslaved on that island of Hispaniola. So that's very, very significant, and it buttresses the point that you made. And not only that, in terms of the Haitian Revolution, how it benefited the United States in that sense in terms of the defeat of Napoleon, but it also helped to create the Bolivarian Revolution, because one of the things that Haiti did was to support Simon Bolivar, giving him arms and giving him money. And the major condition of these arms and this support was when you liberate Venezuela, when you liberate Colombia, or when you liberate, Bolivia, or any of those Latin American countries, you must free the slaves. So Haiti is extremely pivotal in that whole anti-slavery movement, but it's more than anti-slavery. It's an understanding of the freedom of human beings and as a necessity for our development. And it emphasizes, again, the fact that we're Homo sapiens sapiens, we're one species, and we're not just white people, Chinese people, Indian people, Black people, etc. And we should be fighting against each other. It understands the unity of human beings, and that we have this inherent right, shall we say, to freedom and to pursue, our own interests, and certainly within national boundaries, and relate to each other as nations of people, but with peace and prosperity and goodwill between nations. And that's something that Haiti embraced in its constitution after it defeated, the French and the British. But of course, Haiti has paid the price over time. And as we mentioned, that while France ended up recognizing Haiti, I think it may have been in 1825 or something. We mentioned the United States didn't recognize Haiti until 1862. But both nations put an embargo on Haiti, and they restricted the high seas so that Haiti could not trade with the rest of the world. And then Haiti ended up having to pay reparations to France. Can you jump in on that particular piece in terms of how the world turned against Haiti when Haiti was advocating freedom for all of humanity?
Yes, I can jump in, but I think we need to say what the revolution was. I mean, we've talked around it, but we haven't actually told the people what it was. So
Sure.
let me do that first, and then we'll come back to the impact of the reparations and so on. Yeah. Okay, so what happened was, for Black people living in the Western Hemisphere, nearly all of us were enslaved. There were one or two exceptions, but the rule was if you were Black and you lived in the Western Hemisphere, you were enslaved by Europeans. And where the Haitian Revolution is important is this is a successful example of Black people fighting back and winning. And people need to know this. So the fight back began with a priest, and this priest was engaged in traditional African religion. And his name has gone down in history as Bookman Dotti. And he led an Ogun ceremony, 14th of August, 1791. And that Ogun ceremony was to invoke an ancient African god of war and iron. And by the time we get to the 22nd of August, 8 days later, the battle began. And between 1791 and 1804, that's the period where the Haitians rose up, fought their enslavers, defeated their enslavers, and ultimately began to build a massive construction project of forts across the country to stop the invaders from coming back, and they were successful in doing so. And not only did they pull this off, while the revolution was happening, France attempted to invade them twice and were defeated twice. Spain attempted, well, let's try something. They were destroyed. England tried something. They were destroyed. And so ultimately, the Haitians in 1804 declared their country independent under all Black rule. That's a massive achievement. And people need to know, because ultimately, from the history of science and technology, here you have African people rising up and fighting against the most advanced technological powers in the world and defeating them. In other words, African science, African technology, African organization was tested to the limits, and Africans emerged triumphant. People need to know this. These are key facts that need to be made clear. And we've got to big up the likes of Bookman Dotti that started the thing, big up Toussaint Louverture, who continued the fight, big up Jean-Jacques Dessalines, big up King Henry Christophe. These are the big players that made it happen. And the construction program that the Haitians did immediately after beating the invasions, they built two major constructions. One of the constructions was called the Citadel Henry, which is the largest fort in the Western Hemisphere. Some people call it the eighth wonder of the world. And this was built by people who day before yesterday were enslaved. And they also built a monument called the Sans Souci Palace, which, as one scholar put it, was an erudite state-of-the-art monument never equaled by Henry's French predecessors. And the construction, which was a whole construction going all over Haiti, that was so impressive and so large and so well organized. That's why the Europeans didn't come back. And this is a very, very important story. So this is really where the Haitians fit in. Now, having been defeated, the French didn't say, okay, fair cop, we were defeated. They ganged up with their European brothers to find ways of trying to impoverish Haiti. And yes, you had all the blockades to make sure Haiti doesn't trade with other countries. And then, of course, you had the reparations that the Haitians were forced to pay to France. Essentially, France has been leeching off Black countries right up until now. They're still doing it. And ultimately, the Haitians are paid a huge amount. And that's one of the reasons why Haiti is today the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. And this is also why the other Black countries need to bail the Haitians out, because we owe them. And that needs to be made clear in every school, in every Black diasporan country. They should be taught that we owe the Haitians big time, because ultimately their country and what they did is the reason why we are not enslaved today.
As a thank you for visiting our website, we are giving you a free copy of our exclusive 100 Black History Facts, which is in fact a taster of our course content. Make sure you leave your email address and we will send it right to you. We hope it inspires you to dig deeper into your history and heritage.
I think that's an extremely important, point. And I sort of link it, we just celebrated the Battle of Adwa, 1896,
Yeah.
where, Menelik II and the Ethiopians fought against the Italians and made sure that Ethiopia was not colonized. And again, this is of major significance in terms of the African continent and the African psyche, that there was at least one country there that fought against, Italian imperialism or European imperialism, and was able to defeat it. I think it's a similar thing in terms of us in the Western Hemisphere who had been enslaved over time, and Haiti was able to fight this revolutionary war from 1791 to 1804. Tremendous sacrifice, but ended up being victorious against, as you mentioned, the French, the English, and the Spanish. But then, as what happens, you can look at Africa and you can see the same thing. The Italians came back in 1935, and you can see the CIA coming back, supporting the dirge in Ethiopia, and then supporting the TPLF in Ethiopia, again trying to destroy the cohesion of Ethiopia as an independent country. And we see what has happened over time within Haiti. We've talked about the fact that they've had to pay reparations to France. Imagine that, the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere having to pay reparations to one of the richest former empires in the world, just as they're doing in West Africa, and just as we've seen, the coups, against the French influence in terms of Francophone countries in West Africa. Hopefully, something like this will really help us to turn around Haiti. And that's why, as you're mentioning, I'm very, very proud of CARICOM in that it has seen it as part of its responsibility and has halted the slide, and hopefully it's creating this turnaround. But I think it's important also to understand how determined the destruction of Haiti by European powers have been. It's a European, you have to also include the United States of America, because they invaded Haiti, back there in 1914, I think it was. And you can comment on that. But they took all the gold reserves. I think Citibank of the United States, Citibank of New York, I guess it is. They took all the gold out of
I
Haiti.
didn't know that, sir. I didn't know that. So that's new information for me.
U.S. Go ahead.
No, I didn't know that. That's new information for me.
It's for real. From one of my Haitian sources, took all the gold. It's gone. It's in the U.S. Treasury somewhere. I can't tell you all the details. But this has happened over and over again, and then they've put all these, puppet governments in place. Papa Doc, that was a result of the American interference. Papa Doc, I mean, he was a scoundrel. He was not one of the, but to help the Haitian people. Baby Doc, it was the same thing. And over time they did the same thing with Martelli, bogus elections, and whenever the Haitians, had anybody who was viable in terms of a true nationalist, like Aristide. Aristide won 97% of the vote. But what happened? The CIA went in, made him an offer he couldn't refuse, and took him out of the country. So they're not supporting democracy. They're simply trying to continue the destruction of Haiti. And now Haiti is really a failed state. So they've achieved, in a sense, what they couldn't achieve at the battlefront, but they've achieved it by the machinations of international, politics and international deals, etc. And it's a disgrace.
Can I just jump in there, sir? Can I jump in?
Go ahead, please.
And that, for me, strengthens the case why the other Caribbean countries have to help Haiti. That strengthens the case. And it's not it's a good idea if we help Haiti. No, we owe the Haitians. And that needs to be made clear. Another thing that needs to happen as well, there was a story that went around a few years ago that Haiti attempted to join the African Union, but were rebuffed. Right? Whatever fool rebuffed the Haitians, that too needs to be corrected. And so for me, that shows what we, the non-Haitians, can do if we really want to help the Haitians get back on their feet and to reconstruct their country the way it should have been. Yeah.
You're 100% correct there. And hopefully we see signs of that, because one of the things that was mentioned coming out of that meeting in Kingston, Jamaica, is a 30-year development plan for Haiti, an international development plan for Haiti. And of course, that will include, Caribbean nations helping, as well as the European and American countries that have helped to destroy Haiti. And not to mention the complicity of the United Nations, because when they went in there, after the earthquake, Bill Clinton, after the earthquake, raised all this money, billions of dollars, supposedly for the reconstruction of Haiti, and it's disappeared. Nobody knows where that money is. Plus the fact.
But can I jump in there, sir? Can I jump in there? I use that as teaching material because apparently they raised $500 million and they built 6 houses with it.
Amazing.
As much as that, 6.
So where did it go? Into the pockets of the cronies of Bill Clinton, et cetera, et cetera. And I think it's important to name names. I mean, this is not a joke. It's a crime against humanity over and over and over and over again. And we're tired of it, and things must change. And this, ultimately, is going to bring us back to reparations. But we have to understand what needs to be repaired. Humanity needs to be repaired. This bogus ideology that's out there, that there's some kind of democracy that Europe has come up with, and it's the best thing going in terms of the capitalism and the industrialization. It's a failed system, and we have to recognize that. All it has done is created wars and wars and wars, the enslavement of people, and the domination of the rest of the world by a select 5% or less of the population. It's nonsense. That's not what humanity is all about, and it has to change. And we have to understand the brutality that has taken place over time. And again, that's the job of a historian like you, Robin, and I know you're equal to the job, and I know you have been on the case over time.